Good morning, everyone. Lee Chexet here from Century 21 Canada. Happy Friday. It's hard to believe, but all the days are just blurring into one another these days. But it is Friday today, and we are happy to have you here one more time for our Be Relentless webinar series. Today, we have a very exciting guest talking about leads in challenging times. But before we get to Shannon Smith, today, we do have another special guest here. Martin Charlwood, CEO of Century 21 Canada, is here to give us sort of just an update and say hello this morning. Martin, hello.
Greetings. How are you all doing?
Very well. Cooped up inside.
Well, listen, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us during what I think we should say very interesting and challenging times. You know, everyone's talking about social distancing. Well, at Century 21, we're kind of focusing on the comment that we all want to practice physical distancing, but we really want to increase our virtual social interaction. So obviously that's what this is right now. And we very much appreciate all of you who have participated in these webinars to date. And we very much encourage you to do so, whether you're part of the Century 21 family or a realtor in Canada. You know, there's tough times abound right now. And so it's very important that we all dig deep and start using so many of those great business building tools that systems like Century 21 have always had available, but are even more important now. You know, as a good realtor friend and colleague of ours from China has shared with us, it is those who are best able to adapt that will be able to take the best advantage of things as this situation starts to normalize. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to pivot. These friends in China made it successfully through the SARS challenge back in 2003, and now appear to be seeing brighter times after the initial onslaught of the COVID-19 virus in China back in the beginning of January. You know, just before I hand over to Shannon, I'd also like to give a really big shout out, not just to all the C21ers, but also all Canadian realtors who we've been seeing through various social media challenges, helping their fellow Canadians through these very tough times. So from all of us at Century 21 Canada, we give you a very big thank you. And before I hand off to Shannon and her content on communicating with leads during challenging times, I'm going to leave you with this quote. It's during these times that your character is created. It's during these times that your character is not created, it is revealed. I'm going to leave that with you. Have a great day out there, guys. Stay safe and have a good week. Ciao.
All right, thank you, Martin. And we do have Shannon Smith here today. She has created one of the largest inside sales departments in Canada with over 200 firm deals a year. She is also a real estate agent and the director of sales for Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting. So we're very pleased to have her with us now because I'm sure lots of you are sitting there wondering what to do with your leads and the best way to communicate with them. And that's Shannon's area of expertise. So Shannon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lee and Martin. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to everybody today. Definitely everyone, regardless of what brokerage you're with right now, is really wondering what it is that you should be doing with your leads right now. So I definitely want to talk about some proactive strategies when you're communicating with your leads during this time. Right now, if you guys have been on social media recently, you've probably seen some real estate groups, or at least are a part of them, where there's quite polar opposite views right now. Some people are saying, man, if you go after business right now, you're nothing but a vulture and a negative human being. And then there's other people who out of fear are completely shutting down because they don't know what to do. And it kind of begs the question of, like, what should I be doing? And the problem is there's people in the middle who aren't necessarily being looked at as a vulture or shutting down, that are kind of thinking, hey, what are my choices? And they're getting in an analysis paralysis situation, because essentially they're kind of scared that if they do kind of go after some things or make some calls, they'll be viewed as a vulture. But at the same time, if they don't want to be looked at as, oh my gosh, well, they've just shut down their business and, you know, they can't help me. Okay, so that's something we're going to be talking about. And so this actually really complements what Martin was going into. So thank you for that. The reality is what we often ask people in our network, and any realtors that I talk to, is when we're back to quote normal, what state will your business be in? Will it be in a state of abundance, or will it possibly be in a state of scarcity? So the next question is, well, what can I do to make sure that my business stays in a sense of abundance? And the absolute answer 100% is to be proactive. In our network right now, we're letting our clients know that they really have two options at this point. One is to push forward, be proactive, sharpen your skills while you're at home, get organized, and communicate with every single potential opportunity that you do have to ensure that when this is all kind of blows over, that you're left on top. The only other option would be to kind of sit back, wait and see what happens, and just, start everything once it's all over. And unfortunately, when it all blows over, end up in potentially a very problematic place. So really the question becomes, guys, which stance do you choose? So when I speak to people about real estate on a regular basis, I get them to kind of think of this analogy, because this happens in normal business, never mind with COVID in general. Okay, I get people to imagine an airplane. When an airplane is taking off the runway, you have to imagine all of the energy, momentum, strength, everything that's needed to get that airplane off the ground. Once it's off the ground, it can sail through the air and not really have any problems. Okay. And often on a regular basis, before I get to the whole COVID thing, when I speak to people, they'll tell me how they're up in the air, they're soaring, they've got tons of deals going on. And then all of a sudden, they've landed their plane and they're in a stressful state and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I have no more deals. I don't have anything. And they're stressed out and they're trying to get that momentum back, get the gas in their plane, get that back up off the runway and into the air. And it's a constant up and down. So on a regular day, I tell people, guys, really what it has to do with is getting your plane up in the air and just continuously giving it gas on a regular basis, the small regular steps that you can do to have an even flowing business. So this is similar to kind of the COVID time, right? Right now, some people have landed their planes and they've said, I don't know what to do. I don't want to take off and be looked at badly, but I'm also scared to do anything, so I'm not sure what to do. And the problem with that is if you've landed your plane, you've got to spend all that energy to get it back up in the air. So what we're encouraging people to do is let's get that plane back up in the air and soaring. So when this all blows over, you're still up in the air. And it's just a matter of continuously doing the little bits of gas and little bits of things that you need to do to keep it up there versus still having your plane on the runway when this is all over, and then spending that time trying to get up in the air when other realtors are already up there getting opportunities. So I hope that analogy kind of makes sense. I really love thinking about this because it really, to me, signifies what our business is all about. Now, the good news is we don't have to be a vulture and we don't have to shut down. There is a very happy middle place. What we're encouraging people to do, as I'm sure a lot of you have started doing, are to have remote options, to make the sales process fully virtual, to put people's health and safety first. And then it's up to the clients or the opportunities to determine whether they're ready to move forward or they're going to put a pause on hold, or sorry, they're going to put everything on pause and are going to start at a later date. Our job as professionals is to educate the people so they understand their options and see that we can still help them. Here in Ontario, we've been deemed an essential service, okay? Regardless of where you are, what we want to see is a high level of professionalism so buyers and sellers can be served properly and safely and not turn to others who may take advantage of their need because they think that we're unavailable. So an example of this is we've recently, at least around here, been seeing several investor signs saying, hey guys, if you're in need, I can buy your home. And we well know if they go with those investors who are not realtors, that likely they're going to almost certainly pay well under what they would have got on the market, and their interests are not really being looked after. If they just only look at the media is very good at painting a very dismal picture of the real estate market and the world itself. Okay, so they need to hear from us and let them know what our options are to help them virtually. So if they are in a situation where maybe because they've got laid off or they're short on cash and they end up having to buy or sell, that they know we can still help them as professionals and protect them and their family's interests and health. So where do we begin? Number one, first and foremost, is getting out the message. On a daily basis, I am asked, Shannon, like, should I really be reaching out to people right now? Is it super insensitive? Maybe I should just wait until they call me. Well, guys, yeah, absolutely. You could wait until they call you, but we could also be proactive. That means that we should be reaching out to all of our active buyers and sellers, our center of influence, our past clients, our follow-ups, as well as any brand new leads that we've got. And I'm going to go more into these buckets in a minute. It's really important to remember that 95% of what we do with people is not the offer. We need to do everything we can now to nurture to the future if necessary, or help them in this moment if they have a need. We dictate the sales process and our safety protocol and acknowledge urgent matters first. And I'll explain a bit more about what that means in a minute. So when we look at our 4 different buckets that we can call, we first have to be coming from a place internally of when we reach out to people, it's to help put them at ease that we can help them virtually. It's to educate them and come from a place of being a consultant. We're not looking to reach out people to be a snake and to try to push our own agenda. But by being a consultant and making the process about a person, naturally as a byproduct, if there is a need there, that deal will happen for us anyway. But if we come from a positive, good place inside, then great things will happen in your business. So, number 1, active clients. So if you have not already, it is so important that we reach out to all of our current active buyers and sellers. They're looking to us for positivity and for knowledge. If they're actively wanting to buy or sell right now, they're probably very frightened. Okay, so we need to let them know what we've done in our business to help accommodate them, to give them choices, to give them options, and to not paint the picture that the world is over. Okay, they're going to be looking to us for guidance, and we need to be instilling hope in them. We need to let them know the measures we're putting in place to protect them and their family while still making sure that they're taken care of. And despite what the media is saying, homes are still being bought and sold, and here are your options, okay? Now, when it comes to center of influence or past clients, so these are people likely that we've probably done business with at some point, 100% we want to be reaching out to them. Now, let me be clear. We do have to be sympathetic to the times that we are in. So I would not recommend at this point calling your center of influence and past clients with hardcore sales pitches. Okay, we want to be caring. This is a great opportunity to reach out to these people who we've built a relationship with, to find out how things are going, how them and their family are doing, etc. Okay, and then what you want to make sure you do is, if real estate is not brought up, that you're setting a tangible follow-up for a month or 2 down the road to now check back in and engage with those people to try to look for referrals. Okay, now it's probably a huge percentage of time when you speak to these people at this point in time that they're going to say to you, well, gosh, you know, what's happening with real estate right now? I kind of heard everything's shut down. I know you're an essential service, but it seems like nothing's happening. Now is the time where we can very delicately say, you know what, actually, John, right now, we've actually pivoted as an industry to start offering the whole process virtually. So people who are in a need situation where they feel they need to buy or sell right now, we have the ability to still help them, get them to see properties virtually, and service them the same way we would in person, but just over the computer, to make sure that their family's health is protected and their best interests are looked after. And you know what, John, if you do happen to see somebody who isn't of need, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to step up to make sure that they understand what their options are right now and so that they're protected. It was a super soft way of, you're not really asking for a referral. And again, it was only if they brought up real estate, that you're educating them and letting them know, like, hey, if you do know of somebody, by all means, I'll step up and help them. So it's not a hardcore sales thing, but it's making sure that they turn to us who pivoted in the correct direction rather than possibly somebody who hasn't and may put them more at risk. Okay, the next thing are follow-ups. So to me, follow-ups are people that you've spoken with before. You haven't really done business with them, but they've shown some sort of a viable opportunity in the future. And when you last spoke with them, they probably asked you to check back in with them when they're closer to being ready. Okay, so 100% again, we want to make sure we're following up with these people. If we said we are going to do something, we always need to make sure we stand in integrity and do what we said we are going to do. There is nothing wrong with following up with someone who asked you to follow up or who you spoke with in the past and said you'd keep in touch with. What is important is that you use, or you at least consider using, our 4-step approach to follow-ups. And what that means is that when you get them on the phone, you obviously say who you are, you remind them when you last spoke, what you spoke about, and that they had asked you to follow up, and how are their plans going. So many times as realtors, people phone up and make the agenda about them. What we don't want to do right now is call up and say, oh, hey, John, I wanted to call and see if you're ready to buy or sell. That is never ideal, COVID or not. We don't want to make things about us. We make it about the client. And as a byproduct, good things happen for us. So again, it might sound like, hey, John, it's Shannon from the KBCC brokerage. I had spoken with you back in January. You let me know you were saving for your home, but you had asked me to follow up. How are things going? Okay. I'm not pushing my agenda. I'm just checking in. What I don't want to do is get in my own way. He may say, you know what, actually, we're still thinking of moving, but I guess we can't. And now I can give him my options. Or he may say, you know what, right now I don't have a job. It's going to be pushed out at least a year. Could you check back in with me? And now I'm going to go back into my CRM and set that follow-up. But 100%, again, you got to make sure you're following up with people when you said you were going to. The next bucket are new leads. And I definitely get asked this constantly. Well, new leads, I definitely shouldn't reach out to them, right, Shannon? Because that would be super insensitive. Never mind people I already know. And my prerogative on it is this. You've got people who have online put in a request for some sort of information. If I had put in a request for some sort of information, I would expect to be engaged. So to me, it's kind of rude to just ignore those leads and get in your own mindset that they don't want to be bothered. We don't know if they're in a situation where they may need to buy or sell. And it's up to us to call them, make it about them, find out what their situation is, and give them their options so they can decide what they would like to do. It's very important when you call a new lead that you do establish reciprocity right off the bat. So we want to let them know that, hey, I have received your request. And I wanted to let you know that I'm going to prepare that information for you and send it to your email. Is this email correct? And then in response, you're going to ask some questions. So it's a give and take. Like, I've received your request. I'm now calling back. Now in turn, you're going to do something for me, which is going to answer some questions. There's a couple things I want to make sure that I clarify here. Number one, you want to make sure that you never get in your own way. I've been checking in with a lot of teams and agents recently who, when I spoke to them, they said, okay, great, I'm using the scripting you gave me, but I just want to let you know that I've kind of adapted it for COVID times. And I said, okay, that's fine. I understand that if somebody's going to bring up COVID, that you don't want to ignore them, you want to speak about it. But I said, let me just kind of hear what it is you're saying. So she pretended she was calling me. She did her introduction, just like we just talked about. And then she said, now I understand that we're in the middle of a pandemic, but here are the things that we can. And I said, hold on a minute. I said, let's stop. I said, we never want to just lead with the word pandemic. Pandemic is a very fearful word. Plus, we also have to consider that some people are not on the COVID train. And what I mean by that is everybody is fully aware of the COVID-19 situation that's going on. But there's some leads where had you have called them and just done your normal intro and kind of asked, an open-ended question like, how long have you been thinking about making a move? Would have just said, you know what, I've been thinking about it for 6 months, and may not have brought up the COVID thing. Now, there's other people that you'd ask an open-ended question to, like, how long have you been thinking about moving? And they would just jump right into the whole COVID thing. Okay, so my point is, when you are speaking with people, don't get in your own way and assume what their mindsets are. Allow them to tell you. We also want to make sure that when we talk with new leads, that we're asking key analysis questions, because we really only want to be booking virtual meetings with people who truly have a need right now to buy or sell, probably I would say within the next 6 months. Okay, so analysis questions would be things like what their timing is, whether or not they're a first-time home buyer or they have a home, whether they want to look or list first, whether or not they have an agent in mind to help them. We want to kind of analyze the situation. So if we get to the point where we want to book a meeting with them, we know what's going on. And remember, like I've mentioned before, we dictate the process, clients or potential clients dictate the actions. Now, in order for you to have a pretty successful virtual business, I do find it very important right now and all the time to always have very strong value propositions. Okay, so if you're speaking to somebody who says, yeah, actually, I understand everything that's going on, but really I do need to move right now. If they are a buyer, you want to make sure that you have a really solid value proposition on the buyer end. Why do these people want to pick you? They may have a couple different realtors that have been reaching out to them. So you want to have a strong value proposition of how you can help them on the buyer end to make sure that they get taken care of. Same thing on the seller end. If they're thinking of listing, what's your seller value proposition? Why should they pick you? And after you've asked your analysis questions, if you determine that, hey, you know what? I think this person is somebody who needs help now, then you're armed with either your buyer proposition or your seller proposition, and then you can go to a close after that of having a virtual meeting. It is really important in these times too, to ideally have a really good PowerPoint buyer consultation and or seller consultation, because you can do exactly what I'm doing on the screen now, which is sharing the screen, acting as if we're in the same room, even though we're not, and do everything virtually, but they're in the comfort of their own home and they're not getting caught up in that maybe you're putting their health at risk. The next thing that's so important is after you do make all of your calls, I can't stress the importance of enough of making sure that you update detailed notes, whether it's in your CRM, whether you're working on an Excel spreadsheet or a paper agenda. It doesn't matter. We want to make sure that we keep updated detailed notes on every single person that we think or that we speak to. One of the biggest places that I find agents lose business in the long run is letting things fall through the cracks that didn't need to fall through the cracks. We get really excited when people are here and now and ready to buy and sell, and it's amazing. But if they're not quite ready yet, but have their hand up for the future, the chances that we continue to follow up with them are very slim, and it shouldn't be. If somebody wants us to follow up, we should be putting our block of gold in our CRM to follow up with at a later date. So not only do we want to update those notes, we want to set a future task to remind us to actually make that call. And the reason for the detailed notes is we leave that call with the best intentions that we're going to remember who Jack was and his family life and everything he needs and loves. But after we talk to 40, 50, 100 people, Jack's scenario is going to become less and less easy to remember in our brain. So it's so important that we're following, and I'm sure you guys have I know you have great tools at Century 21 to make sure that you're keeping that follow-up going on. Now is a beautiful time to be reaching out to people to build that future funnel. If they don't have a need now you're building relationships to set those future tasks so that when this all blows over, you're in a beautiful place of already having follow-ups that you can engage with. We don't know how this will pan out. It could end up that there's a lot of people in a position that are going to have to sell or buy, or who knows what it might be. But the people who will end up in a better place are the people who are reaching out and making those connection points now. Now, one of the questions is slightly off topic, but something that keeps coming up, so I did want to address, is when the people are trying to get leads or they're just trying to engage with people, not even on the phone, but maybe via computer, they're asking a lot about content strategy, okay? Right now, it's a great idea to do organic Facebook messages, Instagram messages, video. You could have online virtual educational buyer workshops. Right now, you really don't want your ads to be aggressive and in your face. Again, messages should be educational to let people know that you've pivoted and that you've got virtual tools to take care of their safety and be able to offer a great service if they need you. Ideally, if you haven't already, you probably want to pause your generic email drips for now and move to more custom content. You ideally want to offer your full database the ability to be able to connect to you if they do have any questions. Okay, and you probably also want to do some things like offering any community support online or tips while you're working at home or how to keep the kids busy. Just engaging in different ways so that they're seeing your face and don't think that you've just disappeared during this time, but you're also not acting like that vulture picture that I showed you in the first place. Okay, so that kind of brings me to the end of my presentation. And really the thing I want to get across to you guys is these days right now where we're all kind of stuck at home will really help to determine the future you have in your business after this. So really use this time to be strategic, relentless, and around for the rebound. If you do have any questions or hoping to get your own process, anything like that, 100% I'm available for any questions. This is my email here. If you want a free strategy call, we're giving those out. Whatever you need that we can be of assistance to the Century 21 network, I'm absolutely here. Lee, I don't know if you happen to have any questions you'd like me to answer.
Well, I would like to open it up to everybody to ask their questions on the Facebook Live in the little comment area. We can ask your questions to Shannon here live. One of the things that I did want to bring up, Shannon, you talked a little bit about this, about some of the tools and putting out buyers and listing presentations. Just reminding everyone at Century 21 Canada, these are in the Marketing Center and the Resource Center. If you get a potential lead, we have the pre-listing presentation, which you could download as a PDF and send off to them. We also have the buyer and the seller presentation that you can customize and send to any clients.
Fantastic.
So, yes, so we want to make that available to people and just remind them that those are there. You know, as I was listening to what you were saying, do you find that people are overthinking this at all? People are so worried about doing the wrong thing. You talked a little bit at the very beginning about the analysis paralysis. How can you tell if that's you?
Yeah, probably there's a huge likelihood it probably is you because it's most people. And that's why we're trying to get people to be proactive. Right now, guys, Unfortunately, there's been some real estate groups where people have been calling each other out publicly. And it's like, guys, but the good thing is a lot of people have said, guys, you can't do that. Like, that's not right. We can't do things we've told our kids not to do. The bottom line is, yeah, there's a huge sense of overthinking. I think that what you need to realize is that if you're coming from a place of truly caring about people, and we're in this industry to help take care of people in their biggest investments, if you come from that place and you call people on that premise, they'll naturally see that you're genuine. So you don't even need to overthink of it if you come from a caring place. But we want it 100%. It probably is most people right now, Lee. That's why we're trying to get the message out to say, guys, it's okay to communicate with people. Let them know their options. Let them know there is hope in this world despite the media.
Of course. We do have a request. People are interested in your presentation, the whole slide presentation, specifically slide 17. Oh, I don't know whether you have that listed, but I'm wondering if they could maybe take a, there we go. Tada, can you take a picture of that with your cell phone, and then you'll have that question ready, or you'll have that slide available to you? Super. Any other questions out there this morning? I don't think so. We'll just give it another minute, but as we wait for any other questions, I thought I would tell everyone what we have on tap for next week, because we have promised you 21 days of webinars, and we're on day 4 today. We've got lots of interesting things coming up over the next week. So on Monday, we will welcome Jared James, talking about specific things you need to do every day during this time. Tuesday, we have Chris Leader. It's not about me, it's about you. On Wednesday, an update from Tim Hudak from the Ontario Real Estate Association. On Thursday, Shannon's colleague Kathleen Black will be joining us about keeping your mindset strong in tough times. And on Friday, we have the outgoing and incoming presidents of the Canadian Real Estate Association joining us for a discussion with Todd Shayak. So we have a very busy week planned for next week and the 3 weeks after that. So we are just getting started here on the Be Relentless webinar series. We thank all of you for joining us. We will be posting next week's schedule on social media channels today, and you'll get an email early next week. Shannon, thank you for all that information. We got tons of feedback on our Facebook channel. People really finding the information you gave really valuable today. So thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend, Shannon. Enjoy your weekend, everyone else. We will see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lee and Martin. Okay, bye-bye.